Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the NFT morning. Today is April 28th, and we have the chance to organize the sixth episode of the 100 Collector Morning. And today is a very, very, very special day because we don't have only two or three 100 Collectors team members, but what is it? The full team? The full 100 collectors team? Yeah, because we
Well,
have
I mean, we're missing our developer, who's the
so,
only man of the team as well.
but we don't see him. He's in the basement. He's in like so that so okay. So we have the chance to have just to have you, Fanny, you, Eleonora, and Pauline there. And for the first time, Delphina is with us. Good morning, Delphina. Big pleasure to have you at the NFT morning. Delphina, as it's your first time at the NFT morning, you have to say a bit more about yourself.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. I'm Delphina. I'm leading the club in Lisbon because we have great club members here. And well, thank you again for having me here.
Yeah, thank you. And I have the chance sometime when I am in Lisbon to be part of these private visits organized by Delphina. It's amazing. You have the chance to visit institutions, foundations, galleries that make Portuguese art, contemporary art history, not only digital, but more broadly. Basically, this is part of my Portuguese art culture, actually, when I have the chance, to be in Lisbon. So I really recommend you, if you have the chance to be in Lisbon first, to join 100 Collectors, but more broadly, and this is also kind of related to the topic that we will tackle today. For any fair in the world, I think, your best steward is 100 Collector. If you want to know where to go, what to do, you have basically kind of a no-brainer program. And I see many people in the Telegram group sometimes they say, oh, I am in Basel, oh, I am in Dubai, oh, I am in this fair. What should I do? And basically, this is exactly the place to be and the place to go if you want to do it. Pauline, how things are going first, with 100 Collectors? So still busy from one event to the other one?
We're still busy. Ele was in Hong Kong. Now we're gonna be having like something really cool in Dubai because, as maybe you heard, like they are keeping Art Dubai. The situation here is going way better. So we are really hopeful that it will be a great event, and we have a partnership with Art Dubai for onboarding new collectors in collecting digital art. So this is pretty cool. And we are working hard on NFC, on Basel. So Ele just did like a wonderful agenda for Venice as well, because this is the Biennale next week starting. So yeah, like we are being busy.
Okay, so actually, as you're introducing, few events like this, I think it's interesting because now we are crossing over crypto art / digital art through different event format, and yeah, I think it's interesting because event after event, the format has been changing, moving, from the earlies NFT shows to today. Maybe you can give us a bit more perspective about it.
Yeah, I think like maybe just to quickly introduce the discussion of today, but I think it's mostly I mean, it's more brainstorm because there is no, very dedicated answers to it at the moment. But this is something that, I think inhabits everyone around this roundtable today. I mean, John, we had this very long fun call about the new shapes of conferences, of fairs, and something in the team 100 collectors that we do talk a lot about as well, because of what you just said. We are always we are trying to be involved in the different conferences, biennales, fairs, and how do we contextualize digital art in those different events for collectors and for a broader audience, right? So yeah, that's what we wanted to discuss today, is are those formats the right one? Are we reinventing those formats? Maybe there is no reinventing to do. I mean, it's all these questions that we want to ask ourselves, and I think we're all working on it. So we must all have some take, and I'm sure people listening can also participate.
Okay, maybe we can have some, having some contextual information from Fanny. But before that, Eleonora, I just want your hot takes on this. Are we reinventing something, or we are just reproducing what have always? Yeah, we should.
We should. Yeah, we should. Didn't make it too well until now, but it was. I think that we were all experimenting with things and models. So every time I have a little bit of negative feelings, there's also people around me from the early space reminding me that instead of taking it as a failure, we can take it as a evolving situation, because really we have been trying to basically, it's almost like when you have to when you have to make a decision, pick, I don't know, the major that you want to do in your life, you first have to exclude what doesn't work for you. And so it seems like we have been trying things, and now we know better.
So we've been touching a lot of not working stuff. Can you give some examples of players? Which example?
One of the biggest examples are the platforms. The marketplaces that have been creating pretty much after 2018 the first ones, and then from 2018 we saw many marketplaces coming to light, and then now we have so few because many of them have basically shut down with different kind of input for a reflection, one of which is the replication maybe of all the models. It's actually many, for instance, some didn't work because they were funded by huge VC money in a moment when NFT market was very prosperous, and so the system that the platforms weren't able to give back to what these investors put in it, or they didn't work because again, the model didn't really it really replicated what was basically already existing, and then we applied it to a new way of looking at producing and selling art, so it didn't work. And also another thing that didn't work is what we are seeing now after the platforms have shut down, the fact that we are basically losing the art, because then they're not when you we are realizing very late that then when the art that you acquired or produce is lives on contracts that the platforms created for you, and then platforms are not taking care of those contracts anymore, or paying for these decentralized archives anymore, it is a problem. And so we need to act on that as well. It's different failing points that are happening after, let's say, we could say 10 years. It's a little less. It's really 8 years for the platforms. And then so it seems now, not on purpose, but we have been touching things that don't work, and so learning from that and trying to build something that might be more, let's say, either native or just really like more of a home for the space.
Thank you for the intro and for the failures. And so, if you want to come also to talk about what happened in terms of event, also, and maybe Fanny, you can go through also, maybe share with us a small timeline about the different moment, that we've been living.
Yeah, I think it's well, to bounce off what Eleonora mentioned on the early platforms. Like it was between 2017, 18, 19 that like the platforms, like the Web3 art platforms, like started to develop, and we often refer to the Rare Art Festival in New York in January 2018 for the first one, and January 2019, or like not January, but like June 2019 for the second one, also in Brooklyn, in New York, as kind of the pendant, as like the space, like the Web3 art own events. I think Non-Origin like had one in Manchester as well. I don't recall if it was 2018, 2019. But that many people went to after attending the New York one. And so this is kind of like early, like you have prints on the wall, like iPads, like framed, like for super rare, like on the wall, like, like things like that. But like, the own industry developed events. And then slowly, like when the market, like, or like the mainstream market started getting in 2021, there was the adoption by the art market, like more broadly, and also from traditional art event formats. And I think that's where we can go through a few of the timeline from 2021 of like who adopted kind of blockchain-based art first. I think it's a good reminder because we see we're always kind of in the moment, like there's like one digital sector, there's one exhibition at the gallery and so on. I think it's and really think back of like how that came to happen, and also keeping in mind this tension, right, between that Eleonora you mentioned, like between like, and we see that on Twitter a lot, on like this debate of should we like present blockchain-based art like at art fairs and biennales and galleries, or should we develop like native formats that fit the medium? And I don't have an answer, but that's kind of like, going forward, like I think this is
maybe you can you give examples of what does it, some shows where it's exhibited like in a traditional contemporary art fair?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this, we can go back to like, I think it's a very old, I don't know if you can see my screen, but it's a very old presentation. I think we did that one in 2023. It's the latest, but it was kind of interesting to go back to see like who got in first, and surprisingly, actually, this is. I mean, not surprisingly, it's the art market, not the art world and the institutions like that got in first onto blockchain art, because they're like, oh, money to make. Let's get in. And but it's also normally auction houses sell art like what we call the secondary market, like they resell art that has already been sold. They don't sell directly from the artist to the collector. It's most of the time reselling something that a collector already acquired to another one. But 2021, big hype, NFTs, like high net worth individuals, like loving the hype around the world. The Beeple sale, there was the Pax sale, then, like many other followed on it during that year. So those kind of like the first ones to adopt like blockchain-based art from the traditional art market were really auction houses in 2021. and then we had like really museums dipping their toes like with like some of the weirdest experiments around blockchain art in museums. I mean, before that, like museums have adopted like cryptocurrencies and so on, but like in 2021 they were the Uffizis had this like masterwork like kind of digitized as just a certificate of authenticity. The Heritage Museum had like an exhibition in around NFTs. I think Kevin de Bosch was part of this. La Collection had like this like postcards for the British Museum, etc. So it was kind of like interesting. It was kind of like all over the place. Like, what are you even doing? But interesting. And we had like then galleries, you know, got in, looked at it. Like Gagosian like launched with Henny kind of a Web3 platforms. It's like what was the call of the project? The currency. And Nagel Draxler actually had a crypto art booth at Art Basel in 2021, right? Like, I mean, let's just put that back in perspective. And a few other like galleries, like König Gallery, like did Misa art that later became Expanded Art. Pace had like this Pace Verso, etc. And then Tezos had a large booth at Art Basel in December 2021. So, you know, like when we like look at like you know, this is kind of where like I want to stop here in terms of just the beginning, because that's kind of also when the polemic started. Like, should the art market really adopt that? Because of all that I showed you, I mean, most auction houses closed their digital art departments. Pace closed Pace Verso, like their digital pendants. There are very, very few that actually stick with it, right? And this is kind of the part of the problem. It's like when it's not native, like, and they just go with the hype, well, they come and go. And so leaving us with like, you know, not many things.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting because for me, I see at least two debates inside of the debate. One of them that is more on the culture, you know, let's say the traditional contemporary art world is, should we have a specific digital art section, sector, unity, sub-brand, whatever? Or at the end of the day, like a lot of people say, yeah, actually like, you know, Christie's has been pretending when they closed their department, or when maybe Pace Gallery actually, you know, did. Yeah, you know, digital art is just art like everything else. So it would be part of our usual curations because it's business as usual. End of the story. It does not mean that, you know, it means like we don't need a specific section anymore because it's part of it. So is it, you know, should we have this or not, basically? And for me also, the other question is the old world, you know, I saw that, you know, actually in the crypto world already, you know, because, you know, it was kind of kids playing with inventing monies until the banks came back this last year and said, okay, kids, finish to play. Now it's time to let the adult, you know, take the money back. And is the same happening now with digital art? It's also the question. And so, yeah, I don't know who wants to yeah, maybe
I'm just gonna do a smaller, sorry, I'll let you speak, because if I like you have to cut me because I will like I can continue for a long time. But one thing that I will say, and that I will ask you a question back, John, on your question, is that yes, like they said, like very nice press release, right, by auction houses I will not name, like we made it, like digital art is now mainstream, like it's part of contemporary art sale. How many blockchain based art pieces have you seen sold since that happened?
0.
Yeah, probably. I mean, close to that. Like, I would not put my hand on fire to say that, but it's like, so it's a little easy, right? Like, it's like we've made it, but like, did we really, or is it just like us, like, you know, like manifesting?
No, but we know that, we know that it's not profitable for them. At the end of the day, for example, Christie's is an example. They've been investing a lot, hiring a full digital art team with I don't know how many they were, but I had the feeling that they were like a dozen of people in their digital art team working on auctions and trying to develop, spotting the artist. And so, yeah, it's let's say an investment. You're investing a few millions per year into something, and you realize that you're generating barely, maybe you barely break even or not. So you say, like any company just cutting the loss. Yes, Pauline, please.
No, I think like we have to look at it as a broader perspective where the art market is, I think, stressing out of having less and less collectors, and because of the whole situation of the world is harder and harder, is shrinking, and all the key players are looking into where is the next generation of collectors. And what they understand is that, of course, the next generation is fully native digital. And they are seeing digital art as maybe the marketing endpoint to bring those new collectors in. And so that's why they are trying. But we are not there yet, right? Because you don't start collecting. I mean, you do start collecting from one day to another, but it's not as simple, right? Like there is a lot of things that needs to be done for onboarding a way bigger amount of young collectors into, collecting art. I wouldn't even say digital art. So, Art Basel, the art fairs, the platforms, they are trying to tap in this, and they are trying to use digital art as a marketing tool to start collecting. And after you can think like, I think they're right. I mean, I would be inside those entities. I would try to do the same, but then it's not as fast as what we believe it would be, right? And because collecting art takes a long time to start, like not even buying your first piece, but like really starting to make it an habit, because collecting is also an habit. Like, it's good to collect one thing, but then you need to keep going. And I think, well, that's what we do with the club, what we are, building to help people to have an habit of collecting as well. But this is what they are doing. And should we put this into question? I don't know. I think like somehow the more the merrier. And in the end, they are looking into, I mean, most of those players that we just mentioned, they are looking into like the people actually leading the space, no?
I think it's also like, and just one comment on that is that it was an adoption that was out of order. And the fact that auction houses came in first, and that like there were more auction houses in 2021 selling blockchain based art and NFTs than galleries was a problem. And no surprise that like then when the hype like cools down, like then they're like closure and like restructuring, and because it takes time, as you said, Pauline, but also it was kind of out of order to have secondary sales before primary sales.
Yeah, the damage that the auction houses created to the, I mean, we call it digital art space, but I'd say like the blockchain art space is not repairable. It's just because what fun is like the order on how things happen, which to me it made sense that auction houses came first, because digital art was primarily sold through auction like a method. So it was actually like, it clicked to everyone that it will be the auction houses say, oh, you're already doing auctions, so it's like you're gonna do it as well. Like the audience was already ready to act through this. But I think that nobody talks enough about the fact that they burned the market of almost all the artists that they touched, because by like like what Pauline was talking about is more like creating a structure around it. So you need like education, you need time, you need galleries and art fairs. They're already different from auction houses, but like coming and pushing artists that were selling for a certain amount of money and pushing them to like a double or triple of price that they would have in their regular market, and then like leaving them like that, basically burned. There is a list of artists that got burned forever because they could never reach the same price that they reached because of the brand of Christie's and Sotheby's doing primary market, or completely disappearing because they don't want to lower the prices that they reach through them. So like after auction houses, there was a desert, complete
Are you
desert, which is like
are you sure about it? For me, I always had, I don't know, first, whatever we say, the first big sales was the Beeple one with Christie's. So this famous 69 million. So for the 5,000 days of Beeple, I mean, sometimes actually there are a lot of jokes on Twitter, for crypto bros, because crypto bros, they love to clash NFTs and to FUD NFTs. So they start with this kind of thread. A guy bought this piece for 70 million, and no, it was $10, whatever, something like this. And actually, it's not true. I think, to be honest, it's our market. And I don't know really, for me, I mean, it was Beeple value. And to be honest, I remember, this is what we say sometimes with at NFT Morning, because we did the first episode of NFT Morning 1 week before this Beeple sale. And the first episode was about betting with my friend Ram about for how much they would sell. And it was more or less Beeple price. It was a bit more. Okay, there was a premium, but I remember when I did my bet, I said plus 10 million. Okay, I was a bit, I didn't know. Okay, it was a bit more than 10 million. But I mean, at the end of the day, Beeple was already selling big sales for millions and millions and millions on Nifty Gateway. And I don't know, maybe I never bought any piece on my hand that was coming from auction house, because for many people also, it was a kind of boring to buy on auction houses. You had this kind of, they take commission, you have KYC, you have to pay taxes, whatever. I mean, you have to do the usual traditional art stuff that, OGs didn't want to handle. And I'm actually, I remember I was chatting even with a friend of mine who told me, oh, I love to buy on Sotheby's because at the end of the day, it's cheaper than the artist value sometimes, So, I mean, it's, I think, I just, my overall feeling for, just to maybe then we move to other topics, but for auction houses, is that it didn't match. For me, to be transparent, my feeling was that even most of the key collectors never really estimated the value of auction houses. And auction houses, so it's like big business. For me, it's always, what I call the digital transformation effect that happen in any sector. When you have a big business, you're generating billions, and you need to open a new department that is something emerging. If it's not generating cash fast, you just close it. But it's the same for every industry, because you are too big. Us, we can afford to not make a lot of money because, okay, we are small. We don't have 1,000, 10,000 people to pay every month. It's our main focus. We are passionate. We see something where, we are born in the niche. So, we understand that. But, when you are a big business and you see this niche, if this niche crash a lot of money very fast, okay. But in most of the cases, it's not happening. It take years and years, and you need to have the good fit, the good passion. And, this is always the example of digital transformation and the reason why, taxis companies haven't created Uber or, Accor Hotel or Marriott Hotel has not created Airbnb is because, it's a disruptive business. It's different from their clear classic business model. And it's too complicated for them to create a startup inside of a big corporate, basically. So, but what was interesting, and I think it's also the case right now, we're still struggling this, it's the change of the business model. And I think this is what was interesting. You mentioned that, Fanny. Auction houses start to try to do primary sale. Actually, galleries now are still kind of on this model. When you see actually what's happening on art fairs, most of the time you can see some kind of studios or galleries collaborating with artists to do primary sales also.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the model. Normally in the art market, you have, when you talk about the primary sales, it's mostly artists being represented by galleries to sell their first artworks. So primary being like primary coming from the artist. And then when they get famous, they upgrade galleries, and then when they get even more famous, and that's important for what I'm gonna say after, they get to auction houses, would then resell their work to other collectors, and it's kind of how secondary sales continue in the art market, with many problems in between of royalties and everything, but we don't get into that now. But and that was a little bit of the and I think you are both right. Eleonora saying that the auction houses burned the market for many artists. That is true for artists who were not famous enough to get good sale prices at auctions, because auction houses, as you said, are giant machines, marketing machines, but they are made to sell things that are already famous. Right? Why do they sell Chanel, or I don't know, brands of watches, Picasso's and so on? Not just because they want to be fancy and nice brands, is that they are set up to sell some things that people already know. And so here they come with sales where they have, yes, maybe they have Beeple and PAC and Rafik Anadol who are making great sales results in digital art sales or blockchain art sales that counted 10, 15, 20 other artists. And I did that analysis in 2021. It's none of these smaller artists did achieve the low estimate or and everybody was oh my god, I made it, I'm selling an artwork at auction. And nothing happened afterwards, except for Beeple and Rafik Anadol and PAC and the people who were already famous. And that's the problem. That's the mixed up adoption. That's why being focused on secondary sales. That's why it's called secondary sales. It should come after primary sales. But that said, now we see more galleries getting representing digital artists. So.
Okay, and I believe we wanted to talk also about events, because I think it's time is running also, and I wanted to. So you started with all the history of the event, and now we can see basically what's happening now. Basically, what are the new kind of models that you're observing with new adoption, basically, Fanny?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let maybe other like, I mean, maybe Eleonora, like we can skip from, like, I mean, we covered 2021, many things happened, and then now we're here,
This
right?
is why,
Like, we
as
can
we've
just
been doing
summarize.
a big stuff about auction houses. I'm cutting a bit to go
No,
directly to.
of course, because I think this, I mean, and this is fine, because then that's you know, I mean, we've seen digital art sectors at art fairs, like biennales as well, like adopting like more blockchain based art.
What's
Like, I
happening
don't
in
know,
Venice?
Eleonora.
Just maybe Pauline, what's happening in Venice this year?
I will let this to Ele. I wanted just to, but I will go after then. I think I have
No, no,
something
no. Please,
interesting
please
to
say what
add.
you have to say, Pauline. No, you're here.
No, I just wanted to say that the the thing coming from the art world, like, it's not very experiential. You know, like, it's you have like the art fairs, the biennale. So yeah, I mean, it can be, but it's very individualistic. You know, so it's like, for example, the biennale, you have one pavilion. The pavilion have been worked, and you know, people, like, wherever you're going to which pavilion, you'll enjoy the experience or not, right? But in art fairs, it's like, it mostly became like a big supermarket, right? So I think like something that is very interesting is to think about how do we create other experiences, and what, at least what I've seen at NFC, you've been doing it at Art Basel Miami, but Ele can confirm that it was the same in Hong Kong. The experience of the booth, the openness of the space, the fact that the artists were there and you were engaged and you could, you know, somehow play, right? It was fun. Fanny, Delph, you were in Madrid during Arco, and you went to Solo to the show of Nikita, and same, you had a little car and you could experience it. So it's like, how can we create more and more experiences for the viewers that can actually give them a clue on, you know, the context and the piece, that then can help collecting it? Because also, obviously, to do all, like, the one of the point, I mean, not of the biennale, but the commercial events is also for the work to sell, right? So yeah, I think, like, let's put it on the table, like the experience aspect, and how can we improve this, right? Because digital art is giving us this.
If I can add something just to the transition, and then I will let maybe Ele talk more about what Fanny was saying, is that I think that what we see generally, if you see, like, from the beginning with, like, as Fanny was saying, the auction houses and galleries and institutions that started trying to bring digital art to their clients or their audiences, they adapted it, just reproducing the way they were already doing with the traditional art market or the traditional art way of presenting things. And what maybe worked at the early beginning for all the digital art collectors, it worked because I think it was appealing to see how the traditional art ecosystem was in a way accepting digital art. But then it stopped working because, first, because they were just reproducing a model that didn't really adapted to the digital art ecosystem, and second, because they were not either talking to their traditional clients and audiences. They were not really educating and really trying to bring them to that space, because we want it or not, we need to, I mean, even ourselves, even all of us here entering and learning about digital art and digital artists, you need to keep on reading and educating yourself. And I think that was maybe one of the misunderstanding that they had. I wouldn't say a mistake. I just think that they tried to do as they could, reproducing what they had, and that was all. But now I think that's now we see why all these auction houses and galleries and institutions maybe stopped it, or they are doing it in another way. And it's interesting to see, and now I'm pivoting to the transition, to see how these fairs, they are trying to involve digital art, which I think is great. But it's also interesting to see how we, as you were saying, John, at the beginning, are we reproducing? Should we continue reproducing? Should we propose new models? As Pauline was saying as well, is good to see how there is some institutions or galleries, spaces, whatever, that they are trying to propose new models. But it's also a challenge, because how do you propose a new model if you don't know something different? You know.
So actually,
Then you're on mute. Sorry.
So actually, I mean, and that's kind of where I do want to interview the interviewer, because I think, John, like, I mean, I heard you say that a few times, and I really want you to share your theory about Art Basel versus like a digital art fest, like a pop culture festival, like NFC, and kind of like how it evolves, like kind of like together but separate, like and developing a new type of Art Basel.
Yeah, I think to be honest, it's I think this vision isn't we have this vision is true, and I truly believe into that. I truly believe that people, Art Basel right now is something is happening in Basel right now. We had like Miami, Hong Kong. We'll have Basel, maybe one more time Miami, one more time Hong Kong. And I'm pretty sure that in 2 or 3 years from now, or maybe earlier, we will, artists and galleries and maybe Basel itself will start to say, okay, what do we do with this? Is it good enough? Is it generating money enough? And you have a risk, like it happened with auction houses, actually, that Basel just say, oh, now digital art is so established that we don't need to have a digital sector anymore. And galleries, are more than welcome to come to Art Basel main fair with no specific sector, basically, to drop this topic. I believe that there are high chances that it will happen. Of course, I'm happy with what's happening now, but we have also always, we need, and I think it's kind of similar to what I see in the crypto space also in a way, we need narratives. And in the same way that the crypto world try to have this bank narrative now, the digital art world is trying to have this kind of official institution way, and we consider an art fair like Art Basel as an institution now. This is what this is also something new in a way, because you mentioned auction houses, but an art fair, it's still an art fair. So at the end of the day, an art fair is not a museum, and an art fair is not an institution in a way, even if we try to pretend something different. So I mean, it's business, it's square meters, and so okay, especially in the art crisis market, they found a way, to fill with more square meters, and that's of course, it's always, for me, it's another way of the vision that the auction houses used to have, when Christie's was saying, oh, we are bringing these crypto people so they can buy a Banksy. I think you still have this kind of vision, like, okay, we are bringing these crypto people so we can sell more square feet to them, basically. And that's fine. I'm doing more or less the same in another way, and that's the business. My only thing is, this is, there are actually a lot of topics. So, and now I see that time is running, but one thing is, it will be much more easier for fairs like NFC to sustain for the next 10 years and to stick with digital art world, because, as I mentioned, we are born there. So, having small margins, having years where it's not working or having years where it's working well. It was, having roller coaster basically in our business. At the moment you believe in it because it's incarnated by small team and small people who believe in it. It makes you much more, I believe, resilient, to whatever happened in the market. And then it's true, and it's my, and maybe it's a bit utopic to be transparent, but I believe that the ambition of digital art, for me, and this is what I've thought was interesting, is that because we are not trying to mime the contemporary art world, to mime in sense of mimetism.
Mimic.
To mimic, yeah, exactly. I was looking for that. So it's another. We talk a lot about this subculture. You mentioned this Rare festival. You mentioned the crypto art movement. We mentioned the crypto culture. We mentioned the video game culture. We mentioned the financial culture. We mentioned the gamification culture. We mentioned the experiential culture. All of this together make this movement not only a niche in the ultra contemporary art world, I believe. And so yeah, we can be much more than a niche. And this is what also we're trying with NFC. And I don't, we're still in the experimental phase, to be honest. This is what I consider. Every year we change the model. Every year we try something different. And every year there are some good stuff, there are some bad stuff, and we're fine with that. And we take the risk to do it, and we take the risk to be considered as a non-art fair by the art world, and we take the risk to be considered as an art fair by the crypto world, and that's fine, but I believe that, a very modest way, but it's a way to be ambitious. And this is, what I would love to see a bit more. And this is why also I really appreciate actually when artists, like key artists or patron, like artists like Dimitri Cherniak, for example, who are coming there and taking the risk to come with us, or artists like a lot of them, like Boto, like all the galleries, even like Danae, all these people, when they come here, they take a risk also, and it's very appreciable because it means also, yeah, they are trying with us basically, and I think that's interesting because it sticks with this vision that it's not just an art world, it's also a community. And so, we talk a lot about networked art. And I think, in the physical world, we should find materialization at what does it mean, networked art, basically. So yeah, that's, but again, it's nice words. In reality, it's much more complicated to do it. So yeah, we're doing something that will be very interesting, I think, this year, where we are mixing very exhibitions, museum styles, I would say, exhibition with Pokemon card trading, and I think that's interesting. Yeah, that's
No, it's true, and I think this is, and it's worth actually like documenting these experimentations. Like having galleries in containers, like having like the exhibition floors in a full like industrial site. Like it is also like mixing things from festivals, because I think this is something that like new media art festivals have not quite adopted, like Web3 culture, and like this hasn't worked, like the historical festivals, like Ars Electronica, like Loop Barcelona, like there's MAD in Madrid. We haven't really seen that like like crossover, and even things like having exhibitors that are not just galleries, like I think this is like for decades, like for art fairs, it was only galleries that had the right to exhibit. I mean, they got looser a little bit for like the 010 and the digital art sectors, but I think it is worth mentioning that like this is an innovation like that you see at NFC and other Web3 events. Like you have galleries, you have platforms, you have artists, you have, I mean, AIs, like exhibiting. I think this is quite like we take it for granted, but this is absolutely not granted.
Yeah, and we know, and we'll see how things are going. But yeah, as I am deep into that, yeah, I highly recommend you to come to NFC if you don't have your ticket. That's really nice. Actually, I'm sorry. I know I realize like time is flying. I don't know. Yeah, who wants to say last words, about this topic before we close this session? Maybe Pauline, you can just share the agenda. Eleonora first.
So I want to tell you something that I think, like, I agree with everything you said. Do not fall into the communication mistake of calling it, this is the next Art Basel, this is the new Art Basel. This is you don't have to be like the next Art Basel or the newest Art Basel. This is like something different. It's totally new. It is like a festival, however you want to call it, but like it's really different. Look, for once in my life, I want to defend Art Basel and say that Art Basel is an art fair, and the responsibility is like on us. So if right now we see Art Basel as an institution, is our problem. Like the problem is on us, the curators, the artists, which was exactly the same problem that happened with auction houses. We consigned ourselves to the auction houses. It's not their problem. So Art Basel is the same. It's an art fair. What do you expect? They sell the booth and they want to sell art, and we are welcome to do so. So if we switch to see it as an institution, it's like on us. So for realities like NFC Lisbon, it's not an art. It doesn't even, you don't even have to stop calling it that. It's something new, experimental. It's great. It's more native, and it's trying to play with, like this digital culture that we have been having, and needs to find a home. So I would just, I guess what I want to say is that like enough to just, always either like accuse or like put the responsibilities on institutions or art fairs that have been existing since forever. It really is time that we take responsibility. And when there is something like NFC Lisbon, we put a little bit more of effort than we do, or like we don't put all this glory into other things that are even not requesting for us to put glory on them. So I would like for the whole space to take responsibility. That's what I wanted to say.
I totally agree with what you said, Ele. And also just to add one last thing, John, sorry. I think that there is, just with everything that all of you have been saying, there is a question that came to my mind, and it's if you bottom line, if you think about it, all these elements that exist in the art ecosystem, art fairs, institutions, galleries, auction houses, everything is put into place to give value to the asset of the art, that is art. So bottom line, the value of the artist. So if you think about it in a very broader way, is, do we really want to be part of this? Do we, in a sense of digital art ecosystem space? Or do we think that maybe it's not really our space and we should really be building something in parallel? Do we want digital art to be part of the broader art ecosystem, art contemporary ecosystem, or maybe we don't think it's necessary? It's really a question. I don't have at all the answer. It's just coming to me.
Question. And I think, like every good question, the answer is always yes and no. So that's the thing, and it's always like this. And I think all of us are, I'm the first to be super excited about what's happening in Art Basel, and I'm the first to be also a bit critical about it. And I think you can be both in the same time. It means that yes, but it's not enough for me. That's the thing, yes, but I would love to see more. For me, this is the thing. And yes, but for me, it's always, to be honest, the vision that we should have, for digital art is to get 1 billion collectors in 10 years from now. And this is what I believe. And it doesn't mean big collectors. It's not 100 collectors, it's 1 billion collectors. And I think this is the thing, the ambition for me is we should have people just, buying, small editions for 10 euros and just collecting like this and enjoying it. And I think, this is really what I would love to see. And if we want to see this, it will not only be in Art Basel, it will be everywhere. So, I mean, when maybe I said 10 years, maybe I'm optimistic, maybe it's in 50 years from now. But I mean, this is like one thing is contemporary art world, but I think, the fact of collecting digitally should make things much more easier for everybody and more affordable and more understandable and more popular. So this is what I believe in, but it's a big topic. And Pauline, yes.
No, just say I'm glad we're sharing the same vision, and maybe we'll rethink about the logo and the name of the company. We'll discuss this right after this,
No, but I wanted to thank you. It was really nice, and I really appreciate the debate. I just wanted, maybe, very quick agenda about what's next in terms of event in the agenda of 100 collectors.
So you do have Venice. We have a public agenda that people can find on the website. We won't be doing any event there, but we have a few members in town and that agenda that you can go and check of what's happening in digital art. We have this partnership with Art Dubai, and we'll be doing tours to Digital Art 101, so starting to collect. There is a nice amount of digital galleries that are still participating in Art Dubai, so we'll cover this and we'll have a little booth there. Then comes Lisbon. It's gonna be June already. So the team will be all there in NFC.
Here we go. So now, thank you very much. Thank you, Delphina, for being with us this morning. It was a big pleasure to have you for the first time. Thank you, Eleonora. It's amazing when you're in China because you're full of energy also in the morning for us. So that's really nice. And thank you very much, Pauline and Fanny. It's really insightful for us. And I saw some comment, assuming native digital people will collect only digital art might be an error. That's interesting.
Yeah, we are not assuming that.
I agree with you.
To make it sure. Of course, we're not assuming that.
Collectibles. I'm talking, let's say collectibles. Bitcoiners sell digital custody all day long, but shit on NFTs. Explain that. Wow. Okay, it's a big topic. I thank you, Pepe RGB, for sharing this. It's a big debate, and we will talk about it again very soon. For the next episode of NFT Morning, actually, we are a bit slower now because it's 5 weeks to NFC, so I dedicate less time to that. So I cannot say when is the next episode, but it will be probably Remy who will handle something next week. So stay tuned. Talk to you very soon, and good morning.
Happy. Good morning. Really happy. Good morning. To be with you.